We're live. We did it again. Look at us go. How are you, John?
I am doing so good now that I'm talking to you.
Oh,
I'm super excited about this.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love going live with you.
I love hanging out with you. I love grabbing coffee with you. I love learning with you. I love just chit-chatting with you.
Yes. Same. Oh, yes. So happy to be here tonight. And I always like to start off by telling people that I am streaming live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And I love for people to comment as we go along. But I am streaming through, what's that?
I also love that. I love when people comment as well.
We're so the same. We have so much in common.
Same.
And we are streaming through StreamYard, which is an app that you have to give permission to use your name. So you may, as you're commenting, you may come through as LinkedIn user or Facebook user if you haven't given permission. So I'll still call you out and recognize your comment, but I might not know who you are. So if that happens, then I'll ask you to tell me who you are. Love for this to be interactive. So if we have an audience, and when we have an audience, it's amazing if you comment as we're having conversation so we can include you in the conversation. And comments are usually delayed 30 to 60 seconds. So we're always happy to backtrack and bring back up something we've moved forward from. Awesome. So I am Lauren Lefkowitz. I'm a leadership coach for people who are in the middle of their careers and they just feel like they've gotten down this path. They don't love it. It's not working for them. They spend a lot of time saying like, it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. Kind of like that meme with the dog with the coffee and the fire behind him. And they want to break the cycle. They don't want to be where they are for the next 10, 20, 30 years. And so I work with people to break that. And with me tonight is John Spears, fellow coach. John, why don't you tell us who you work with?
Thanks, Lauren, for this. And thanks for that introduction. Although it wasn't really an introduction, you're letting me introduce myself.
Yes.
But I'm John Spears. I am a COO of a large international advocacy organization in DC, and I'm also a coach. And I work with leaders and executives and those who want to be leaders and executives in organizations to live the life that they've always wanted. I found in my own life that the inertia of life can just kind of just keep us going on a track, and often days and weeks, months and years go by and we realize we're not going in the direction that we want to go to. So I want to champion and partner with people who actually want to live the life that they've always dreamed of and never thought it was possible. And so I'm a big believer in possibility and in making shifts in our lives so that we can have everything it is that we want because we deserve it and it's available to us.
Amazing. I do that too.
Lauren does that
too. You said it better, but I do it.
Yeah.
Yes. That's like what's so amazing about coaching, I think, is that like we live in this world where we go through our day just sort of accepting how things are and things happen to us and at us, and then we react. And what you and I do is that we help people take a look at, like, now what? What if you didn't have to just react to what was coming your way? What if you could choose your future? What if you could choose what was next? What if you could dream of and then have everything that you want? And I'm doing that now. You're doing that now. And it's a whole different life. And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight in the context of sort of the doing and the being. We do have a comment from one of our friends, Meredith, says, I'm so excited to see you both on again. Love your dynamic insights and perspective. Thank you, Meredith. Thanks for being here and supporting us. So I would love for us first to describe doing versus being, because this is sort of a veer off to the left from what we're used to, right? We're used to, you were showing me before, you have a check, a to-do list. We're used to having to-do lists and checklists, and my calendar is always like color coded and in order. And so doing is like what we know, right? And so I'm curious how you describe being.
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think my understanding of being constantly evolves. And I had a recent insight into being, and we're all doing, right? We are doing, we're right now in this live doing something. Cooking dinner is doing, driving, work. There's a lot of doing in our lives. And the way I've been thinking about being is like the intention in which we live our lives, right? So in this live, how do I want to be? What is my intention? What am I going to bring into this conversation with you, Lauren, and with folks that are watching right now, that is going to distinguish this experience from if I just were to do it, if I were just were to show up and be like, right? Like just kind of this like robotic and automatic way of doing things. And I say that in the context of someone who has like doing a lot right now. And I found that when I'm in my like doing mode, I am like, my head is down, I'm box checking, I'm just getting it done. And I kind of have like these blinders on. I kind of feel like I'm like those horses that have like the thing on, whatever this thing is.
Yeah.
And I'm just like doing it. And there's like all this stuff around me and all this possibility that I'm just missing out on. And that I am not in that, to what you just said earlier, like this generative state where I am creating stuff in my life. So I think of being as really kind of, being open, being curious, and in this posture of like learning, as opposed to like closed and kind of doing. So I think that's sort of like the basic fundamental, but there are other things that you can throw in there. Like, with my kids, the way I want to be with my kids is available. So the intention I go into every time that I'm spending time with them is I don't have my like two phones with me, and I'm not out with them all the time, but I'm like available. Like I'm listening to them and I'm open to what they have to say, as opposed to like having an agenda.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I always think of being as like everything but the doing, right? And so you and I always love this example of like, you and I walk into our respective kitchens and we both have to go grocery shopping and we both open our refrigerators and we both see that we have eggs. And you like to cook. So you are like, yes, I have eggs. I can make a hot breakfast. My belly will be full, can get the day started off right. And I don't like to cook. And so I see the eggs and I think like, oh, now I have to cook something. Now I have to take out a pan. I wish I could just grab something quickly. I'd even eat plain bread at this point, right? Like I just don't want to cook anything. And so we're doing exactly the same thing. We're both making eggs for breakfast. And the way you are being about that is that you are embracing the fact that you have something in your kitchen that can make you warm breakfast. The way I am being is that I'm resentful that I haven't gone grocery shopping. I haven't done all the doing. So I'm unprepared. Now I feel scattered. And so we go, you expand that to like whole life, right? And the thing we're gonna talk about tonight, which is kind of funny for both of us, is that our doing has shifted for both of us over the last year and a half, however long, and we're both in really different places with very similar sort of doing defaults, mm-hmm. And it's showing up in really different ways for us. So. A little bit about where I am is, I came off of a 20 plus year career in HR and operations and I was sort of like the vice president of everything at my last organization. I interim managed anything that nobody raised their hand for. I was like, I'll do it. And And so I was working 80 to 100-hour weeks, was working on the weekends. I had clients on the side, doing coaching and resume writing and, just sort of whatever came my way. Very reactive to my environment, and just sort of working until I was exhausted. And then I took on a coach training program that you and I were in together to train in the being side of coaching. And I was like, oh, what is this? What is this? How do people live this way? And now fast forward, I have left my corporate job and I am undoing all the doing and figuring out who my being is without all of the doing. And you are in a totally different place. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, Lauren, before I do that, I just want to let you know how proud I am of you. Like, I don't mean that in a patronizing way, but like, just, to hear you say that and to see the shift that you've made in your life is just really incredible. I just want to acknowledge you for that because it's really cool. Thanks. So yeah, I'm in a very different place than you, Lauren, and I am doing lots of things right now. So I'm a single dad of 2 really amazing kids. I just became the full-time permanent COO. I was in the acting role for about 10 months. I'm doing the 2nd year of this training program to be a leader in the program. What else am I doing? Lots of things that I have on my plate that I'm trying to juggle. And when I get in this place of like lots of things, I often in the past would start shedding things and saying, nope, I can't do this. Shutting myself down from possibility to possibility, and get back into this like small place of comfort, right? I'm really uncomfortable right now. I am super uncomfortable. I was also telling Lauren that I'm doing a lot of new things. So I just started skiing, and it's new for me. And like, I'm a 41-year-old guy who's like the first time on skis and praying I don't fall, embarrassing myself in front of my son who's 10 and is like zooming down the mountain faster than me. I'm a certified yoga instructor, but I took 2 years off of doing yoga and like back at it now. And so it's like uncomfortable because like my body isn't the same and I can't do the things the same way. And so my experience is that like I am having to look for possibility in all of this stuff where I can get super caught up in the doing and I can like put the blinders on and just like put my head down and just go. And I just don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to like pull back and make myself small again. Because this is actually like what I'm calling into my life, like these things that I'm doing. And I also don't want to get to the part where like I'm just doing. And so I'm really on a day-to-day basis, on like a moment-to-moment basis, choosing how I want to be and choosing the intention in which I'm going into this live or going into a meeting, or when I'm looking at my schedule, I'm thinking like, what's going to work for me to show up in the best way possible for me, in the way that's going to be filled with love and compassion and my essence and who I am, as opposed to just like let's check all these things off because like I really love a good like crossed off checklist, and I feel like super accomplished when I do it, and I feel like better than everyone else that doesn't do their checklist, right? Like all of those things, but like that's not who I want to be, right?
Yeah.
Mike O'Connor, yes, he this is Mike O'Connor. Can I just give a little shout out to Mike real quick? He was my first boss. He was my first boss out of college, and he talked about uncomfortable feelings. He, after working for him for like, I think it was like 5 months, he's like, you're going to go to India and open up our office in Calcutta. And I was like 25, 26 years old. I had like no clue what I'm doing. And this guy believed in me and gave me this opportunity that like has totally transformed my life. So yes, Mike, I guess I'm going to run a triathlon with you. I guess I'm committing to do that on a live.
Amazing. And we've got a knot coming in. Our dear friend also. Love you at 41, John. Yeah, I hear you talking about all of the things that you're doing. And then I hear you, when we connect, talking about having done them. And there's so much of you and your heart in what you're doing. And it's so amazing to see that you're not just checking the boxes. You're not just making the to-do lists, that you're finding meaning in what you're doing. And it is a lot. You are doing a lot. And I am doing practically nothing. And we are struggling with exactly the same thing. Mike says, I hope this is recorded. It is. It'll stay in the archives here on LinkedIn, and it'll also be on YouTube on my channel. So I am working on more less in my life, and have been for the last year. And so, like I said, I came from this sort of crazy work all the time, serve all the other people, will get to me later kind of lifestyle. And when I left my job in July to take Lauren Lefkowitz coaching full time, which 2 years ago me pops into my head when I say that and is like, you're not doing that. You don't like risk. You don't really do anything that's risky. So we're sort of in bizarro world for me right now, every day. But when I left my job in July, I really wanted to do more or less. And I've got to interrupt myself because we've got a comment from Patty. All our friends are here tonight. So great. Triathlon. Yay. Coaching available. Cheering for you both right now. Thank you for cheering for us both. Just for clarification, I will not be involved in the triathlon. I will hold your stuff though, if you need. So my inclination always is to get busy, right? I'm not a checklist person. I am a full calendar person, right? So I calculate how much time I need and how much space I need between appointments so that I can make sure the dog is walked and fed. I have time to go to the restroom. I have time to grab more water. Sometimes I would figure in lunch if I could remember. And now since July, I've had full control over my calendar. And I initially really packed it because I was afraid of space. And so now I'm trying to be in this place where I appreciate and embrace rest in a new way, because there is opportunity to just sit and read and not like cram 30 pages in before I go to bed so that I don't fall behind, so that I can keep up with whatever I'm trying to keep up with. And I was telling you, John, right before we came on here, that there was a day fairly recently. I mean, we're all works in progress, right? And we're all discovering who and how we want to be. And it's uncomfortable to be different than our default way, right?
Yes.
So my default way for, 15 of the last 20 years has been to wake up in the morning, immediately look at my phone, figure out what was on my plate, check my email, see what I needed to adjust for the day, see who I needed to squeeze in, what were the emergencies that were coming up, what did I need to do that night, what could I catch up on over the weekend so that I could start my week out right, what clients did I need to make sure I was fitting in on the side and making sure that they felt prioritized, and so on and so on. And now here I am with a client load, but no full-time job. And I can do whatever I want. And my brain is like, you're not doing enough. Mm-hmm. And so a few weeks ago, I was sitting on the couch in between things. I didn't have anything in particular to do. I was thinking about listening to a podcast, and I'm not great at just like sitting and listening. I need to have my hands be doing something. And if the something is work or reading, then I'm not paying attention to the podcast. So I said, I'll listen to this podcast and I'm just going to sit and breathe. And then I got all antsy and I got up and I got the Clorox wipes and I started cleaning the individual slats of the blinds of my windows. And my windows are 96 inches wide, which is like, they're really wide. So each slat took some time. And after about, 20 minutes of doing this and getting through half of the blinds, I took a step back to admire my work, and they didn't look different because they didn't actually need to be cleaned with Clorox wipes. And then I reached out to my LinkedIn network, asked them what kinds of hobbies they have, and ordered a puzzle on Amazon. That's what I've been working on when I don't have anything to do, because that is like just an opportunity to be, right? And I'm finding other ways to be also, like I'm meditating more. I'm doing a little bit of yoga, which I haven't done in years and years. I'm giving myself the opportunity to read. I've chosen a chair to read in. That's not my couch, because my couch makes me like go to TV. And you know, I talk about this and you talk about that, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because in all of it, for both of us, the default is, well, what are we doing in all of this? Right? And the choice we have, and the choice we get to make is, how do I want to be in all of this? Do I want to be antsy and, you know, sort of sitting on my hands so I don't do senseless housework that doesn't need to be done? Or am I just like jetting from the kids to work, to a client, to this, to that, to yoga? Or am I present in the moment and not thinking about what I just did, what I have to do next, you know? And so I wonder for you, like, how do you keep making that choice when it's so easy to just slip into doing John, instead of being John? How do you manage that?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of us think, you know, we get to a certain place, or we have a breakthrough, and then we're like done with it, and we're like, we can like sit back and like lean back in a chair and kind of just coast. And good news and bad news. Bad news is it's just not the way it works. The good news is like we're all in it together. And I think for me, it is choosing, like thinking about being is a constant choice. It is a minute by minute choice, hour by hour choice. You know, there are moments in life at work where something happens, and I have a split second to decide who I want to be in that situation. Do I want to be reactive? And hey, frankly, like I can be really hard. I can be super terse. I can be super direct. And it can come across as like unloving and not kind. And I get a choice. I can choose. Do I want to be that John, or do I want to show compassion? Do I want to show some intention? And so when I wake up, I every morning I clear and think about how I want to be that day before I do something significant. Go on a live like this, or have a client, or go into a meeting. I make a choice on how I want to be, and it's a constant coming back to that. There's been lots of failures and not doing that. But I think the thing for me is constantly getting back up every time I slip, I make a mistake. Every time something doesn't go the way that I intend for it to go, I either apologize, get really complete with it, and move on. And for me, it's really also a lot about really loving myself and showing myself lots of compassion, because I'm not perfect. And it's just a constant choosing, constant choice, a constant decision, and revisiting that decision over and over again throughout the day.
Yeah, it is. I love your point about like moment by moment choices, because the day shifts on you, right? No matter what you're planning. My whole week this week has been like a message from the universe to let go of my attachment to structure and calendar. I have had more meetings and like friend stuff and work stuff changed on me, or turned upside down on me, or I can't make it, or sorry, I missed our call this week than I can ever remember. And so there's almost not one thing that was planned this week that went the way it was supposed to. And the first one that didn't go the way it was supposed to, I was like, I'm a busy person and I don't have time to just reschedule at the drop of a hat. And right. And Meredith just commented, beautiful. I'm sure it wasn't about that. And Anat is nodding her head. So hopefully she knows where we're coming from. But and then I was like, you're not that busy, Lauren. Like, you have room in your schedule. You can offer yourself the grace to say like, yeah, I can do something more spontaneous. I can adjust this. I can give this person a reschedule or a second reschedule, no problem, because it's not a problem. Yeah. It's old Lauren's problem. It's old Lauren's problem, who really didn't have the time or the space and couldn't be in a place where I could create the time or space to adjust like that. Yeah. Like my old way of adjusting was like, prove to me we need to adjust this. Yeah. Right? Because I was like a busy executive. And I say that a little tongue in cheek. I never felt like a busy executive. I just felt like a really overworked, tired person. But so all week I've been like, okay, and all right, I'll take the change. And last night, two things went as they were planned. I had 2 meetings between 7 and 10 p.m. That were fun things that I was so looking forward to. And in that 3-hour period, everybody I knew called me and left me a message or emailed me.
Including me.
Including you. Yeah. And I was like, I haven't been busy all week. And then in this like one moment, everybody I love is like, hey, just checking in. Hey, I need you. Hey, can you give me a call back? Hey, I just wanted to say something nice to you. And it was just like, I'm very punny and a little bit sarcastic in a kind way. And it was just like a joke from the universe that like, we're going to cancel the whole beginning of your week. So you're forced to rest. You're forced to find some stuff. And then everybody's going to come back at once.
Yeah.
And now it just makes me laugh. And, and that's a real shift in my being, is that I'm like, all right, what am I going to do instead?
Yeah.
And it's a really nice way to be.
2 important questions. One is, what puzzle are you putting together?
It is donuts. It's a 1,000-piece donuts puzzle. And I took it because it had a lot of like different blocks of colors. And I haven't done a jigsaw puzzle since I was little. So I didn't want to get one with like tons of sky. Sometimes you get one that's like a flower field. Yeah. And there's like 2/3 of it is sky. I didn't want that. I'm not in for the challenge. I'm in for like the mindlessness of it. And so far I've got like a pink donut, a purple donut, and a box of cookies, and like a little bit of wall. There's some blue wall, but it's got pattern on it. And it's really fun. And I bought like a puzzle mat. So, cause I live in a fairly small place and I don't have a place to like leave a puzzle out all the time. So they have puzzle mats. You can roll it up and put it away. It's like,
whoa.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's the puzzle.
Nice. The second question is, you're making this shift in being, you have some more time, you're growing in your acceptance of this new reality for you. What has that given you access to?
Oh boy, what has that given me access to? It's given me access to being deliberate, to deciding whether something is serving me or not. And that's actually what came up when I was cleaning the blinds. I was like, what is this doing for me? And what I realized was, if I just sit and listen, I'm probably going to fall asleep, right? And also, I want to listen to more stuff in general. And I don't have to make it hard. And by cleaning the blinds and like having my arms up at weird angles and trying not to get the strings of the blinds dirt, right? Like, such a silly project. I was busying myself. Mm-hmm. And so I was like adding work to something that was supposed to provide me rest. And I keep using the word rest. It's like a brand new word to me. There was like exhaustion, collapse, migraine, or, catching up on sleep. I didn't have rest in my life. And so there's rest that's done for me. And there's fun. Like, I'm done not having fun. I spent a lot of years really contributing and doing it well. And I'm super proud of all of the work that I did. And I'm super proud of all of the people that I helped along the way, but I did it at my expense. Mm-hmm. And I'm not willing to do that anymore. And if it's not fun, I don't want to participate anymore. So I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just got a big comment from, I don't know if it'll fit on the screen. Oh, look at that. StreamYard does a great job. Let's see. I had a being shift in my car the other day. I was about to speak my to-do list out loud. And Before You Go by Louis Capaldi was on, and he sang "So" while I spoke "So." And it was like the joke was on me, and all my stuff shook out of my space in a good belly laugh. Oh, I love a good belly laugh. Thank the universe for the opportunity to shift my being in that moment. And being was a whole lot easier to generate that day. Yes, that's amazing. And there's a knot cheering you on. Awesome.
You know, Lauren, I love, what you just said. This shift gave you access to new things, right? Fun.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love about being intentional about being is that, like, you get that belly laugh. You get to experience things that you didn't before. One of the things, the shift that I'm noticing, and I noticed it last year when I had all this other stuff that I was doing too, is like, I can do hard things. That, like, I don't need someone to come save me and to, like, come. I need lots of support. I need help. I totally need that. But, like, I have what I need inside of me. And so, like, there's this new confidence that I have that I just never had before. Like, I would always look for the easy way out. I would always say, I'd take myself out of the game. I was like, I'm not going to win. Like, this is going to be too hard. I'm going to go on the sidelines. And this shift in being is giving me access to generate, to create, to have agency about how I want things to go. And it's such an empowering feeling for me. It's one that, that I haven't had in a really long time. And it's just really cool. Like, we're having similar experiences and different content in our lives. And there's so much that's available to us. And the thing that I love about also this is that, like, this isn't just available to, like, me and you and the other coaches who are listening right now. This is, like, available to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the most amazing thing. Like, people can access this. They can access this newness. They can access this power. And that's why me and you are doing this work, right? To empower people and to partner with people so that they can create these lives that they want and get out of the stuckness that we find ourselves in sometimes.
Yes. I want to hop back to what you said about, you don't need someone to save you, but you do need help and support. Say more about that.
Yeah. So, you want me to get personal here? I can get personal here. Yeah. Like, no, I never felt good enough. I never felt like I had what it took. I never felt like, that I could, that I could do it on my own merit, right? Like, someone had to, like, do something, give me some charity or kind of, like, save me to something. And now it's different. The support thing is, support is different from, like, saving, right? We all need support, and it is really hard sometimes to ask for it. But it's the only thing that it has gotten me through this last year and this training and program that we're in. It's the only thing that's going to get me through this year, is to be super real about my needs and my wants. And I tried to, like, white knuckle it before and just do, and it just was exhausting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It struck me when you said that. I think we all have some level of not good enough, right? It's why we do the things we do, to prove that we're good enough. Mm-hmm. And so yours was, I'll keep doing things until somebody saves me or offers me what I view as charity, which was probably just reward for good work, right? And for me, it was, I I'm not doing enough. And every time I do something, people's memories of the thing I did go away immediately. So I have to keep doing more to prove that it's worth keeping me here. And that was how I got into this like workaholic lifestyle, was like, oh, I'm already doing HR. I'm making it look easy. So I may as well take on finance or whatever, right? For whatever period of time I took on all the different things. And I didn't need help. So I wouldn't know what you're talking about a few years ago, right? Like I didn't need help. I'm here to help others. That's my goal in life, is to help others and make other people's lives easier and make everything perfect and tidy for other people. While like my life was not in great shape, right? I'm living with chronic illness, working all the time, exhausted, canceling plans with friends, not making plans on purpose because I knew that I would have to cancel them. And all the while not asking for help. And that's not to say I was never helped. I've always had supportive friends and family who have had to probably fight their way in to help me. And for me to accept the help was even harder, right?
Yeah.
And something I've discovered in the last couple of years is this capacity to be really capable and also be helped. Right. And we discovered that this year with Anat and Meredith in our coaching cohort, that my like problem is that I don't see that I can be capable and vulnerable at the same time. And to me, accepting help felt like a vulnerability, and asking for support felt like a vulnerability. And I remember I called you last week about something, and I had this like discovery on the phone with you that like, I was so glad you were there, right? I was so glad you were there to support me, because I was having this freak out moment about nothing, right? I was like obsessing about spending money on something, and it wasn't about the money. It was about whether I joined this program or not. And I realized during that phone call that not only could I and did I get support from you, but I could have called a dozen people. Yeah. And I wouldn't have allowed that in my life before. And we've got some more from Mike. I love what you're saying about being and doing and not just checking the boxes. This conversation is very meaningful to me. I work with a lot of newly arrived refugees who work 2 or 3 jobs, 80 to 100 hours a week, and get very little compensation for such. They end up under great emotional and physical stress. I work with their children and see some of the intergenerational stresses this causes. It is so structurally horrible that this is how we welcome newcomers to the U.S. And unfortunately, your comment cut off, Mike. But yes, from what you're saying, I hear that. And I was in the, fortunate and, position that I chose 80 to 100 hours a week, and I was fairly compensated. And I think that even in that time, even when you are working 80 to 100 hours a week, that there is an opportunity to make decisions, no matter where we are, no matter what our stressors are, no matter what our level of hard is, whether we choose it or whether it happens to us, that we have an opportunity to decide in the moment, who and how do I want to be about this? What do you think about that, John?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I'm thinking a lot about, Mike's comment that, obviously there are lots of, structural issues we need to address as a country and globally on some of this stuff. But I also just think about, to your point, like me and you, we've had this opportunity to have our lives transformed. And there's so many people that don't have access to that. And so I'm just kind of struck with this for a moment about, making sure and working towards bringing this types of training or access to this to people who don't have access to it on a day-to-day basis, and who are in the fight of their lives to survive. And even in that, there are choices, right, that people can make. And I think that's just super powerful to think about, and really motivating for me now to think about ways to work and to talk to people who are who don't have the same kind of privilege or access that we do.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that, Mike. Appreciate the insight. So, John, one of the things that really contributes to the being, and I think this also contributes to what Mike just said, is for me, and I think for you, we've talked about this. There's this baseline of that I didn't have before, which was identifying what I'm doing all of this for.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My old way was I do it because that's what I do and that's my job and that's what I'm here for. But I didn't really have a why other than that I liked people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I like people, so I'll go into HR. And so much of my job was not about people. It was just about the doing. And now I have a why. Now I have a what for. And for me, my what for is that I want people to understand that they have choices,
Mm-hmm.
right? We all have taglines. My tagline is "Fine as a trap" and break the work, sleep, repeat cycle, right? Because my client base is mostly people in the middle of their careers who want to get out of the same day to day and they don't know how to do it. And they think they have to take 100 steps back in order to make any kind of change. And so my purpose in what I'm doing is to help people understand that they have a choice at every step
Mm-hmm.
and that they don't have to do it alone, that there is support for them. And, when I think about my day-to-day now and having my why as my foundation, my whole life means more. And it's really satisfying is the wrong word.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, into my core satisfying. And I wonder what that means for you and how that's helped you in shifting your being and in being in all of the different things you're doing all the time now.
Yeah. I think our what for here is pretty similar. I am doing all of this because I believe in the possibility that exists in people. Mm-hmm. And if that is my what for, if that's the sort of motivation behind why I'm doing all the things I'm doing, and I'm a total jerk while I'm doing it, there's a disconnect there, right? And I think, we're both having experiences that are very challenging for us, and are also in service of who we are called to be. Mm-hmm. Right. And when we have that perspective of being open and being grateful for this experience, even though it's incredibly comfortable, because we know that deep down, this experience is actually supporting our growth and giving us access to new insights and giving us access to possibility. Being able to tolerate isn't the right word. Being able to sort of move through it, it makes it worth it, right? Mm-hmm. Right, because if I didn't have this really strong why behind what I'm doing, I'd tap out. This is it. I'm good. I'm really comfortable. But there is this I'm really connected to what I want to be, who I want to be in the world, and how I want to spend my time. And it's really ultimately at the end of the day, working with people to help them realize and be awakened to the greatness inside of them. And so, yeah, a few weeks of discomfort, it's kind of worth it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And being grateful and what's my being in this moment, right? Am I pissy about it? Am I frustrated about it? Or am I open to it? Am I grateful for it? Am I able to get some altitude, right, from it? I just think that's super. And to be frank, I'm getting this for the first time, because it has not been fun the past few weeks about going through this. But it is being in community to talk about this stuff and having these conversations and really focusing on intentionality with who you're being gives you access to it in a way that I would have never had before. I would have been resentful or frustrated or judgy about myself. Gosh, I'm super judgy about myself. Like I'm probably really judgy about other people too, but like super judgy about myself. And like I just not, that kind of stuff doesn't linger anymore like it used to. It might be there, but it like quickly goes down the stream, and it doesn't reside in my head anymore.
Yeah. And that's the being, isn't it? Right? Like
Yeah.
you can do a whole bunch of activities and exercises and use tools and checklists to do the things that you're doing. But the way that you are in it and the way that we all often talk about coming back to being. Mm-hmm. And I see we have a yes from a not cheering you on as you were talking. But we talk about back to being a lot. And that is because we do get still wrapped up in the doing, right? It's not all fun and games. And I have conversations with clients. And it's funny because I'm going to say this out loud and every client is going to be like, she's talking about me. She's outing me in this live right now. I'm not. There's no one particular person. You all do it. I do it. I do it with my own coaches. That sometimes we'll have a coaching call where nothing in particular happens, right? Mm-hmm. Like we don't get off the coaching call with a game plan and a set of goals and a set of exercises, because the whole time we were being in this one place mm-hmm. and exploring it and discovering it. And then the next, week or whatever between our calls is we'll just notice, right? And it's about recognizing your opportunity to be and how you can be and choosing it.
Yeah.
And like you said, there is so much possibility out there, and we are so hard on ourselves that there's nobody out there stopping us, mm-hmm. right? Like when I decided I wanted to go into business full time for myself, when I started talking about it uncertainly, my friends and family were like, "Oh, really? That seems risky. Are you sure? Are you sure?" And when I got sure about it, they were like, "Well, of course you're doing that. Of course you would do that. That's perfect for you." Because my way of being, when I started talking about it was tell me I shouldn't do it. I'm afraid of it. I need you to agree with me that I'm afraid of it and that it's a hard thing. When I decided I was actually doing it and I decided that I was going to be a business owner and a coach full time and that I was going to do all the planning, I was going to do all the doing, but that I decided that that's who I am, that got reflected back to me. And so the way that you be, we always get to the bad grammar part when we talk about being. The way that you be as a person in your life, even when the doing stacks up and you have to come back and reflect on the way that you want to be, the way that you are as a being is the way that you're going to live your life.
Yeah.
And right now I'm living in like fun and rest and creativity in a way that I never have in my whole life.
It's awesome,
Lauren.
Yeah. You said something about sort of, like nothing particularly significant happened in a coaching call or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I just got super present to the fact that like when we live our lives, like these mundane moments of like making a choice of how you want to be, there's nothing particularly interesting that's happening or significant. But like that constant choice over and over again lays planks mm-hmm. to new opportunity and to like a moment when like magic happens, when like something just shifts in a way that you can actually experience it or feel it or see it or like whatever. And I love a good magical moment. Like I'm all about synchronicity and like the universe kind of intervening in this like super big way. And I think every day is like that. We just don't see it.
Yeah.
And it happens through these really small moments of who we choose to be and the choices we make that give us access to something new and different.
Yeah. And it's that willingness to get the littlest bit uncomfortable, mm-hmm. right? Because like you said, you want to go back to like, what do I know? What am I familiar with? What's comfortable? So I'm just going to check off the things, back out of stuff, whatever it is that's going to get me back to like some sort of equilibrium.
Yeah.
But what you find is that your equilibrium expands, your capacity for getting uncomfortable expands when you're willing to sit with something for a while, when you're willing to be reflective, when you're willing to choose how you're going to be in something. And there's so much opportunity in that. If we're willing to slow down and be in our being, and not just go to the next thing. Meredith said she corrected it in the next comment. She said doing can be constrictive and being creates space. Doing can also be constructive if you're doing it from the right place. So you're right in both comments, Meredith. Doing can be constructive and doing can be constrictive. It depends on your being. It depends. So great mistake. It was like an absolutely perfect mistake. Because it depends on where you're doing it from. And if you are coming from a place where you've taken the time and energy to figure out who you are, which like we don't really do as adults. We like figure that out when we're a teenager. We decide to major in something in college or go to trade school or start a profession out of high school. And then like, that's who we've decided to be. So whatever job we have, whatever spouse, partner we choose, whether we choose to have children or not, we identify with those things, right? I don't mean to call children things, but I don't have any. So, but, we pile up the doing. And if we're willing to sit with ourselves and really be and figure out who we are at our core, then all of those choices become easier. All of the doing becomes more meaningful. And the stuff that isn't meaningful, we're willing to let go of. Totally. I only got halfway up the blinds. I'm not finishing them.
Because you made a choice.
I made a choice.
You made a choice.
John, any final words before we close?
No, I just looked at the clock and we've been chatting for 50 minutes and I'm like, where did the time go? No, I think this is really helpful. And for me, it's given me access to new learnings and new kind of, new learnings about this experience that I'm in. And I'm just super appreciative for you for having this live and for the folks that joined us. I think, if there's one or two takeaways, it would be, I'm really caught on what Meredith said about creating space in our lives. I think for me, I need more space. I need more space to explore who I am and what I want to be doing. I need more space to slow down. And a lot of us live in cities and have, busy lives, partly because we fill them with busyness. And I think slowing down to be and slowing down to create space in our lives, to be intentional about what we want to do and who we want to be is super important.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a couple of final comments coming in. Meredith said, I'd scheduled myself to do something productive during this time, and being with this conversation was so much better than anything I could have done tonight. Thank you for your being. Thank you for your being, Meredith. You've been a super supportive partner in our conversation. And then we've got from Mike, thank you both so much for this. Mike, thank you for your comments and your insights as well. And if you need the recorded clip of John committing to the triathlon, you just reach out to me and I'll hook you up with that.
Can I just also say that Mike is the guy who was like, called me and was like, hey, you want to do the Chicago Marathon? And I'm like, sure, totally, I'll do it. So Mike is like goading me into all of these, all of these things. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to do it.
Amazing. Yeah. And our time just flies by so quickly when you and I are talking. And I know we say this all the time. I could talk to you all day. And I loved being with you. And we've got a couple of love yous at the end here. We've got Mike and Anat. Mike, I think you love me too, but you just don't know me that well yet.
He loves you.
I know. I feel it. Thank you so much for being with me, John. Have an amazing night, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. And if you watch this on the replay, please feel free to leave a comment and let us know if you'd like to hear we'll be together again. We're going to go live more often, and let us know what you want to hear about. Take care.
All right. See y'all. Bye, Lauren.